All right, welcome everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We have an exciting show today. I'm super pumped to welcome Max Fergus. He has a really cool company. I'm a huge fan of what he's building in his app and his music community and platform. We're going to dive into some really interesting stuff and how and why he started Loom. And I'm super excited to get into this. As you guys are watching, I know we're streaming on a bunch of different platforms here. So as you're watching, make sure you leave some comments, drop in where you're from. If you have questions for Max, we are going to do some Q&A at the end. Hello, Sasi. Hello, Dapo. Thanks for joining, guys. If you're on YouTube, you can drop comments. If you're on our site or Facebook or Twitter, wherever you're watching, make sure you comment, ask questions for Max. We're going to get into some really interesting stuff today. If this is your first time watching, or if you're new to the show, this is actually going to be one of the first episodes of our podcast too. So we're going to be rolling this out as an episode of the Entrepreneurial show. So we're excited to start rolling that out and giving people the opportunity to listen to all of our events and shows and stuff, on Spotify or wherever else they listen to podcasts at. If you don't know, we're a social platform for entrepreneurs, investors, freelancers. We bring everyone together. We just rolled out our app on iOS, Android, and you can also download you can sign up for our platform on our website too. So we're everywhere that you need to be to create a free account and to connect with like-minded people, ask questions, find investors, find freelancers for your startup, and just get into a like-minded community. So that's what we're all about. That's what we're building. If anyone has any questions, whatever, feel free to reach out to me directly. You can, sign up for our platform and obviously, message me on there. That's where I'm hanging out a lot. And yeah, thank you guys so much for coming in. And without further ado, let me bring up Max. Hey, Max.
Hey, Michael. Thank you so much for having me. And congrats, by the way, on launching the new app. That's exciting.
Yeah, well, I'm excited to dive into it because I know you've just gone through this. Well, you went through this last year, and now you have over 100,000 users on your app. So we're going to dive into all this stuff. I think for everyone building an app specifically, this is going to be a really interesting conversation because I'm super curious on different strategies you've used to grow users, all of this stuff. But I feel like the best way to kick this off is tell us a little bit about your background. I know you started this while you were in school, right? While you were at college. Yep. So fill us a little bit in on your background, and then why did you start Loom? Like, what was the inception story?
No, it's one of those things where you hear about it a ton, and then in the end, you end up realizing that everything you heard about it was true, and you're going through all the, bumps early on. But like you said, we started Loom when we were still in school. So to give everybody some background, I'm Max Fergus. I'm the CEO of Loom. And I graduated from UW-Madison about 2 years ago, originally with a background and a degree in finance and investment banking, but actually with a focus in healthcare and life sciences. So not related to music at all. Both of my parents actually were biochemists from the university. And my dad was a lifelong serial entrepreneur in the life sciences. And so when I was getting into school at UW, I was not super interested in the science part, but really interested in finance. And so, I spent my sophomore year in Shanghai, China, working for a healthcare and life science venture capital firm. And then in San Francisco, my junior year, and then was going into my senior year of school and got a really exciting offer from Rothschild, which is an old investment banking company that was trying to break into North America in New York. And so they offered me the opportunity to come on as a founder of their new healthcare investment banking division, not surprisingly. And so I got that job offer right as I was going into my senior year at UW. And I think about a week after getting that job offer, I started to get really bored. Probably when some people are really excited about, having everything locked up before they're leaving school. And so, one of my passions throughout my time at UW was always entrepreneurship. I was an entrepreneur at heart. And so during my senior year, I texted a bunch of friends and said, hey, let's create a think tank. Let's do something fun with our last, 6 to 8 months here while we're at school. And I talked a lot with the entrepreneurship department at UW. One of the biggest things for me was, how can a university like Madison better compete with universities like Stanford, Harvard, MIT, that don't just have phenomenal research sides of their university affiliates, but are taking these undergraduate companies as kids leave school and creating flourishing business models. That's not something that happens in every single university around the US. And after getting rejected from Stanford as I was going into school, why not give it a shot while we were still at UW? And so we started a think tank, and our thesis was, let's look at industries that are growing exceptionally rapidly, but have really antiquated business models, or the technology within the industry is growing so quickly that maybe the business models are a little bit antiquated. And so we were really, really big fans, as I'm sure a lot of your viewers are, of esports and Twitch and live streaming. And so we started to really dive into that. And what we saw was that there's a million companies that are taking new streaming technology, whether it's karaoke or esports, right? Fortnite, short form video content like Tencent and TikTok, and not just creating new business models for the companies themselves, but creating new business models for the creators on their platform. And this was happening everywhere, right? Esports was a $100 million industry, and now it might as well be a $100 billion industry, just because we're starting to leverage better technology and give people a better medium to showcase their talents. Yet that just wasn't the case with music streaming. Music streaming is one of the fastest growing industries. At 60% year over year, it is one of the quickest growing industries in the world. But almost every single company is unprofitable. And so our big aha moment was the financial issues that we're running into in the music streaming industry are directly related to the frustrations of the majority of its users, 99% of the talented emerging musicians that are out there. And that to us seemed like a big area for disruption. And so what we noticed was that 99% of the music that is streamed is of the top 1% of the most corporate and mainstream music. So for Spotify, that requires them to pay the highest royalty and licensing payments, because it costs more for Spotify to stream Drake or Taylor Swift than it does them to stream me, singing my guitar, or, playing on my guitar in my dorm room. And so they've created this business model that's really, really expensive for them to run, given the fact that they're competing for these catalogs with Amazon and YouTube and Pandora. And at the same time, now you've just neglected the people that you should care about the most, which is all of these really talented, the next generation of amazing musicians that are being put in a position where they have no ability to promote themselves or use their fans to promote themselves, and also no ability to create any profitability. And so we thought, can we not only fix the financial issues of a growing industry, but can we also fix the issues with music promotion and profitability for emerging artists, as well as discovery and genuine human connection for fans? And that was really our entire thesis, right? Build the next generation of music using better technology, a better social user experience, and then of course, a better business model. And that's really, how we got started.
Now, it's fantastic, and I think you've hit on a lot of pain points that, I'm not a musician by any means. Like, I have the worst.
Neither am I. Don't worry.
I have the worst singing voice of all time. Like, and it's funny, but like I believe musicians and artists are entrepreneurs, right, in their own right. Mm-hmm. And what I've noticed now, being an entrepreneur for the last 5 years and everything, is that, and interacting with musicians and stuff and artists, and they lack certain things, and there's not a place for them to actually express themselves or really network well. Mm-hmm. It's one of these areas and industries that it was really odd, like when I understood how it worked, because yes, they can post music anywhere, but how is anyone going to find it, right? And then how can people actually connect with their fans, which is what you've like been crushing, and you've solved these problems. So I love the discovery aspect of it, and people can find out. I dropped the link here. It's all going on the bottom. It's just loom.fm, and you can download it. I think you guys are on iOS, I know for sure. I think you just rolled out Android, or you're rolling out Android soon.
Yeah, so obviously a ton of exciting announcements coming up for us. Yeah. But we're going to be launching our Android platform and our web application as well.
Fantastic. That's awesome. Yeah, so I'd love to dive a little bit deeper into like, so you started this now, and you mentioned you started it at university, and in my opinion, university, it's honestly, in my opinion, best place to start a company, because you're surrounded by almost unlimited resources. You have a ton of people right around you that are willing to work for free towards an idea or whatever. As soon as you leave college, you're kind of off on your own. People have jobs going on, they have families, they have mortgages now, they have rent. You don't get the same support from professors and things like that too. So how did you go about building your team up, right? Did you, like, I know you started it with some of your friends. You said, were they co-founders? How did those relationships develop? And then how did you go from, all right, we're going to do this, to like, all right, how do we build an app, right? Like, what was that for? Because this is my first tech company, right? And building an app over the last year has been a whole new experience for me. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, and like going from, all right, we have this idea, right? Like, we're all bought in, like, we're going to try this. How do we get from the idea to like, okay, let's actually build this app? And how did you guys go about that?
Yeah. So 2 points that you hit on there that I think are really interesting. And the first one is as a university, a really great place to start a business. And I think that, before I even get into, us, I think that our greatest advantage about starting Loom at UW was the fact that we were completely ignorant of everything else that was going on around us. When we thought about the way that things should be, we didn't think about the way that things currently are. We just thought about what the most ideal scenario is for emerging and independent musicians to grow their brand on the same platform that fans would stream their music on, and how can we allow them to do that and make more money. We didn't think about anything else. And that almost lack of experience really opened up a lot of creativity. My favorite quote in the world is Steve Jobs. You're trained to think that you go to school, you find a job, you get in a house, and you have a happy family. But once you realize that everything around you was created by people that were no smarter than you, then you have the ability to create things that people will use. And then everything else goes away, and you realize that the world is filled with limitless potential. And so going back to us, we had our first meeting of our think tank in our friend's dorm room, or his apartment building, actually. And I wrote up a 1-sheet piece of paper that I actually probably could go back and find, but it's, literally going in there and talking about ideas, right? Unleashing that creative potential. And so as we started to realize that Loom was really what we wanted to do, we were approaching the second semester of our senior year, and, it was decision time, right? We had no financing. We had no technical co-founders. And so I remember having a conversation with my dad over winter break. And my dad, being a background in healthcare and life sciences, was really, really interested in me, pursuing my passions at Rothschild and investment banking. And I remember telling him that I was really, really, really passionate about this, and I potentially wanted to forego my offer to do Loom full time. And I'm pretty sure his original response was, God, I'll disown you if you do that. And now, of course, he's our biggest supporter. But that's always the story I tell people, because it shows the level, I think, of dedication and motivation that you truly need to have, which goes back to your final point, was how do you get through all of these early barriers of a startup? Raising your first $1 or your first $1,000 or your first $50,000, trying to create an app when you have absolutely no technical experience, and trying to create a company when you don't have a lot of professional business experience. And I always use the analogy of walls. You get to these walls, and almost a lot of the time for startups and for early entrepreneurs and founders, the walls are kind of like the weed out classes in college. We don't have a technical co-founder, so we need to go out and we can't hire anybody. So we need to bring on a software development firm. Well, as I'm sure you guys have experienced over the course of the last year, however you guys have developed your app, the process of doing that is extremely strenuous and hard to do, but you just keep kind of checking off those boxes. And so we raised our first $50,000 from friends and family. I mean, as close to going out on the street and asking people for money as you literally can get. And we used that first $50,000 to sign a contract with a local, actually a software development firm in Austin, Texas. And that was finally what gave us the confidence to, on the day we graduated, call up our previous jobs and let them know that we were going to end up pursuing Loom full time. Those first three things are some of the biggest walls that we faced. But every time you get past it, you realize that, you have a little bit more confidence, and you realize that you can, again, going back to Steve Jobs, continue to do what you need to do to be successful. But it's an exceptionally long and lonely road if you don't have people to support yourself with, which we were very, very lucky to have phenomenal mentors and advisors that we worked really, really hard to get. Before we did anything, we went out and found people that knew more than we did that could put us in really great positions to succeed. Yeah,
we keep going back and forth. You touch on so many important things there. I think the mentor thing is huge, and I want to get into that later. And to your point, right? If you don't, and I love your analogy with the walls, right? Because that's all it's like you're playing this board game, and you just got to keep like moving down the path and keep going over these different obstacles and crossing things off your list, and continuing to just take one step forward every day. I think that's a fantastic analogy. I think people building out tech companies, especially trying to figure out ways to build their product, right? You guys understood where your skill set lied with, not having technical. I'm not a technical person either. So I was like, okay, well, I need to find a technical co-founder, or I need to hire a person or an agency to build this. Now, there's a lot of different strategies that go in with that as well. So you guys went with a US-based firm, right? Which can be expensive, but typically highest quality and fastest approach, right? To getting something to production, right? A lot of people will hire freelancers. A lot of people will hire overseas firms, like, and we've done a mix, like with our platform, right? So there's a lot of different ways of doing it, and I really like how you guys brought that up. Going back to the mentors, what was it that made you seek out these advisors and people? Like, not a lot of people have that initiative, I would say, to like know, like, we need some serious help. And what was your approach to them? How did you land these men? It's hard to like get people's time, right? If they're successful, it's hard to get their time. So what was your approach on finding these advisors and mentors, and how did you get in touch with them and get their time?
When we started Loom, I think one of our earliest mature steps that we did was we did a risk analysis. We looked at the 9 different types of business risk. We went sales risk, team risk, recruiting risk, financing risk. And what we realized is that we didn't have any of them covered at all. And I think that is the nature of being in a startup. There is startups that are years ahead of us that still don't have 4 or 5 types of major business risk covered. And that's just the nature of being in a startup, is you do cut corners. You figure out how to continue to, move forward really with whatever you have and whatever it takes. And I think you just have to kind of accept that. And you made a really good point. Would you rather be would you rather be average or less than average at 9 things? Or would you rather be really, really, really good at 3 things? And I'm a big believer in doubling down on your strengths. And so when we did that risk analysis and we started to think about what we needed to do to succeed, one of the greatest lessons that I had learned early on was that the best leaders in the world are the ones who surround themselves with people that are smarter than them, because it's so much better to be surrounded by people that can help you grow and build and create products than it is to guess. Guessing allows you to hard work can get you anywhere in the world that you want to be, but being efficient can get you there faster. And so for us, we were in such a growth mindset early on, so immature to some extent, that we wanted to learn as quickly as possible. And so when we went to think about our mentorship approach, early on, we thought about it a lot like our financing. Reach out to every person in our network and what do we need help with? I really believe that sometimes people are really afraid to ask for help. And asking for help is one of the purest signs that people can be real leaders and can grow successful companies, because the greatest skill set in the world is knowing that you don't know everything. And once you know that, you're really, really hungry to go out and find people that do.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. I think we've had him speak at some of our events. I don't know if you're familiar with him, David Meltzer. He's a fantastic guy. He's a big believer in asking. And how can someone help me with this or whatever? It goes a long way, and a lot of times people are more than happy to help. But being specific and direct with it and what your ask is, I think, is also really critical. So like, hey, we need help with this. Can you or do you know anyone that can help me? Right? That is important. And I'd like to. I think that's fantastic, and I think I want to hit on some other things here. With how did you guys bring on your first investors? I know the first investors you mentioned friends and family. Just asking people, hey, we're doing this. Like, will you give us some money? Like, oh yeah, things started, and then so what was that next step? You guys raised a round after that, right? That like over $1 million, right? So what was it like going from the friends and family round to we're talking to serious investors, and how did you guys approach that? Right. You obviously started getting some traction with the app, and then you're like, hey, here's what we've built. Here's our growth, all of that. What was your approach for reaching out to investors? And did you target just people in the music industry? How did you go about doing that?
Yeah. So, when we had left school, we had raised about $50,000. $50,000. Originally, we had said, okay, we have $50,000. We're going to spend $45,000 on development, and we're going to spend $5,000 on marketing, completely not understanding what it took to run the business. And so when we left school, our original plan was that we were going to launch our pilot application at the end of the summer. So 3 months after we had graduated, understanding that the product was really going to be a beta product. And so we continued to, we joined the G Beta, which is an accelerator program out of Generator in Madison right after we graduated. And then we kind of really set these goals, right? I think goal setting and KPI setting, however you want to look at it, are extremely important. And so our goal was to launch our pilot application at the end of the summer after we graduated, and to get into a major pitch competition to validate our business model and get us some credibility. And so we ended up, what we thought was super, super lucky, getting into the finals of the Pressure Chamber pitch competition, which was one of the largest pitch competitions in the Midwest, held in Madison every year. And we were the youngest company ever in terms of the age of our founders and in terms of the tenure of our company to get to the finals. And we actually competed against, the head of computer science from UW-Madison was there pitching his new company. And we ended up winning. Mostly because I learned through the pitch competition that it's all about how you deliver the pitch and how you pull through people's empathy and their ethos when you are pitching your product. And so right after we won the pressure chamber pitch competition was the same day that we actually launched our pilot application. And we ended up going from $100,000 in funding to about $500,000 in funding, launched that pilot application for about 3 to 4 months, didn't spend a single dollar on marketing, and went out and handed out flyers for 3 straight months to every single student that we could on campus, got 5,000 users on the application. And that investment was what allowed us to actually raise our real first true seed round, which then allowed us to really focus on building the long-term application that we launched last July. And so, Jeff Bezos, just to wrap it up, always said that you need a lot of planetary alignment when you're starting your company, meaning that you need to get lucky. And I'm a really big believer that the harder you work, the luckier you're going to get. And I think that we have been very grateful for that approach and really have delved into that approach even more as we've continued to grow and believe in that. We're also really big believers in the law of attraction and manifesting what you want. And so I think that all of those things are exceptionally key.
100%. I love that. And I think it's really smart how you guys did it. It seemed like you were very thoughtful about your approach.
Mm-hmm. Don't give us that much credit.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually, it's impressive because it's kind of hard to be, that specific, right? And then actually, make it happen, right? I think a lot of times some people, they have these, kind of like, and your goals were, I think you set them up very achievable. Like we can do this, and we know that if we execute and just work, we'll be able to get them done. I think if you stretch a little bit overboard, and you don't hit your goals, then that's where the downward spiral can begin. So I think it's really important too how you guys approached it in the method that you did. But fantastic, like really, really interesting. Really, really interesting way of going about it. How did you go from, okay, you have the pilot program now. It looks like we have one of your, someone from Loom is on here on YouTube as well. She loves, looks like she's a singer-songwriter.
Oh, huge shout out.
Got a huge fan. Yeah, no, awesome. And so how did you go from, you have this pilot program, right? Now you have some users, you just raised like a significant round of funding. Then what do you do after that? How do you start getting some real network effects going? Because you are building, in a sense, kind of an interesting mix between, yes, it's a music platform, right? But it is social in a sense too, right? There is a sense of community, people connecting with each other, right? Posting content. So how did you guys go about, you got your first, several thousand users and whatnot, doing just guerrilla marketing at college and, pitch competitions and stuff. How did you make that next step to now where you're at over 100,000 users and, you're a feature on App of the Day on the App Store? So take us through this last, year or whatever. After you raised that money, you had the users. What were those next growth steps like? You guys went through?
So the next steps for us were actually the opposite of growth. So we were, it's set the stage, right? It's November of 2018, 5 months after we graduated school. We had just raised some money and we had this platform, but the platform we had was a pilot platform. It couldn't scale. We knew that we would never be able to put money into this application and genuinely be able to retain enough users to be able to grow extremely organically. But now I look at that pilot as an investment of a proof of concept. And the one thing that I'm proud of us for was realizing that we didn't need to continue to push forward on a pilot when what we really needed to do was bring it back in and focus on the product. And so we actually ended up taking off our pilot off the App Store. We're getting into the beginning of 2019, and we started to form some really great relationships locally with people like Frank Productions, which was a subsidiary of Live Nation Entertainment. And so in April of 2019, we had actually just now hired because we had a product that we could convince people that they wanted to work for us. We hired our first 2 software engineers. We closed our seed financing, which converted our convertible note in April of 2019. And then that was what led us to launching Loom on iOS in its current state in July of last year. So almost exactly a year ago now, we launched the product. And so from there, it was honestly some of the earliest advice I ever had gotten, and I'm kind of going off a tangent here, but was focus on 3 things: product, product, and product. And so we doubled down, and even after the launch last year in July, we focused pretty much the rest of the year on improving the product, not necessarily even going out and acquiring a lot of users, but focus on creating the highest quality product possible. Because then in January of 2020, now about 6 or 7 months ago, Loom became the first ever platform that allowed emerging musicians on a music streaming app to be virtually gifted, or virtually tipped is how people that, you know, haven't had that experience in virtual gifting think about it. But basically just direct support from fans to artists. You know, in an industry where 80% of the money that goes into a music streaming platform goes to 3 people, 3 major record labels, all we have to do is take that money away from the middlemen and create a better business model for ourselves and a better business model for our users by allowing our artists to make more money. And then COVID hit. And so right as COVID hit, as unfortunate as, you know, everything going on right now in the country is, it was a great way to shine a light on how important a platform like Loom was, where instead of 1 million streams on, you know, a platform like Pandora that's going to pay you $90, you can have 100 people help you pay your rent by their enjoyment and their genuine support of what they want to be doing. Millions of Americans in surveys have said that they believe that emerging musicians deserve to make more money. Now we've just given them the medium to do it right at the time they need it most. And so that actually was what ended up leading us into Apple's App of the Day. You know, again, a long string of highs and lows, and you touched on this before, but the key is never get too high on the highs and never get too low on the lows. Yeah. And my philosophy is get really, really high on the highs and just make sure you don't get too low on the lows. And I think that philosophy is one that I believe in pretty strongly as well.
You got to celebrate the wins, right?
Absolutely.
No, I totally believe. I mean, it's one of the reasons why our logo, and it fits just well with our brand, is our end is the up and down arrow, right? So it represents obviously the end, but it also represents the ups and downs of entrepreneurship. And it's the same thing with artists and musicians. And it's one of the reasons why I love your platform, because like you said, you get rid of the middleman. You're helping the people out directly. And I mean, I've supported, you know, artists on Loom, and I love it. I mean, it's great. And they message me and they're like, thanks for your support and all this stuff.
Thank you every time. Thank you.
Yeah, and it's really cool. And the other thing too is you can support people just by checking into the app too, listening to the app. So walk us through. I'd love for you to share a little bit of the features of the app. Walk us through how people earn these, you know, the Loom coins, and then how can they gift them, and, you know, a little bit more in the details so people can kind of understand how it works a little bit deeper.
Absolutely. So Loom is a social media and music streaming platform, right? We take the most important tools that artists need to succeed on a social media and a music streaming platform. And the goal is to not just create a community of people that are like-minded, but to create individual communities around each of our artists, right? Allowing them to grow their brand on the same platform that fans stream their music. Because we live in a world where the word of the generation is authenticity, right? Where the brand that you have as an artist, how authentic you are, is almost, if not as important as the music that people hear from you. Because millennials, Generation Z, they care about genuine. They care about that authentic relationships that they can build, because Generation Z, they can see through bullshit in, seconds. And so Loom is this platform that has created this culture of relationships and collaboration and networking and positivity. And then at the same time, we add in this gamification, which naturally gets the endorphins going, right? And so some people come on Loom just to support emerging artists because that's what they get off on. That's what they feel good about themselves. And other people are the Generation Z fans, right? And for them, I like to think about it as the kids that are in the car with their friends that are always on the aux cord, the tastemakers, right? And so the key for Loom, when we know that fans are as important as artists, is to create a platform where fans have just as much of an ability to be tastemakers as the artists do. And I think that that is a really key component for us because it allows us to create tastemakers and music discovery for other like-minded people that they like. And then, using, some really exciting machine learning and AI, we're able to really create, exceptional relationships with people that they already know, which, we call like the low-hanging fruit, right? Like getting people on that just genuinely want to support you. And at the same time, working to expand each of these artist circles, because in the end, it's all about connecting, collaborating, growing, and making money.
Love it. Love it. And walk us through how people can, because the artist can actually cash out. Like,
yeah,
because I'm on here and I love it because I can just come in every day. I can claim, rewards just for using it. I can get more by listening to artists and stuff. And I found some really cool songs and people on here. It's like really interesting. And so walk us through how it works. Like the artist can actually make a living on this, and maybe walk through some of like your top artists and how much they're making, and like, going through, maybe some of the numbers and stuff too, that, you've actually been able to help people like make a real living off of this too.
Yeah. So Loom is one big case study. Our entire business model is a case study to prove that there's a better business model out there for the future of music streaming. And so a note is Loom's virtual currency, right? Not a cryptocurrency, but basically like a Fugazi, right? A digital sub-licensable piece of the air, right? And that note, our virtual currency, is worth money. It's worth half a cent. And so half a cent just happens to be equal to the per stream royalty payment on a lot of music streaming services. So when you get a stream on Spotify, if you ever get paid out, you likely are earning around 0.004 to 0.005 cents for that stream. And so we decided to make a note worth a payment of a stream. And so the only real math equation that we need to run here is this. Since we launched virtual gifting in January, we've had I don't know what the latest numbers are, but over 20 million notes have been gifted to over 12,000 emerging artists on the platform. But in that same period of time, only around 5 million streams have taken place. And so we're proving that people are willing to support these artists beyond what they would normally be able to support them if they bought a $15 subscription to Spotify and streamed their music 24/7. They're literally willing to give more money for each stream than half a cent. And so right now, artists on Loom are earning around 3 to 5 cents per stream, or 8 to 10 times as much money on average as other music streaming services. And so people should come to us and say, you guys don't pay royalty payments. Are you really, are you for the artist? And all we have to say is, go look at some of these artists' profiles. And generally what you're going to see is a lot of them have more notes gifted to them than they have streams on their profile, because they are generating, and it takes work. You still have to go connect with fans and bring them to your profile and make meaningful connections. But the artists that do that always are going to see that note number end up being greater than the amount of streams that they can generate. And so that is, I think, one of the reasons why we do have not just 100,000 users, but 70,000 of those users are creators that are on the platform. And creators are also fans. A lot of the virtual gifting that happens is from artist to artist, thanking them for also creating phenomenal music that they really, really enjoy. Loom is not a platform of artists and fans. Loom is just a platform of music lovers that want to be part of something that's not just greater than themselves, but is centered around the one thing that they're the most passionate about, and that is music.
I love it. I love it. I think what you're doing is so important, man. And you're really empowering people, which is what we're all about as well at Entre. We're going to get into some Q&A here. So I know, Lorraine, you had a question. If you guys have if you have questions for Max, drop them on whatever platform you're watching on. And we'll get into some Q&A here. I want to kind of end at least this with, at least we've gotten into a ton of advice for founders and stuff, which is fantastic. I'd like to have you share any pieces of like learning material that have helped you. I mean, you've quoted a lot of people, so it seems like you're pretty well read, or you watch a lot of YouTube videos and stuff like that.
Yeah, probably more like that, but yeah.
And I consume better like through videos, and like I like to read books, but it takes me way longer to get through a book than it does for me to just consume a video or an audiobook. But I'd love to have you share some of the things that, or any material really, whether it be books, audios, videos, or person that you really study, that you learn, that it's helped you a lot, that other people who are watching, whether they are a musician or an entrepreneur, that they could use, to help them along their journey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think this is probably the part where most people say, go read 0 to 1, or, go read, I guess, Startups for Dummies, or, actually there is a million phenomenal startup books out there. 0 to 1 is obviously a great one, but for me, if I had what should you read if you wanted to become an entrepreneur, it would be a book that is completely not about business at all. And it's called The Secret. And so The Secret is a book by Rhonda Burns that really shined a light on what the law of attraction was, especially in today's world. And the law of attraction is just realizing that if you set your mind to something, that you have already achieved what you're going to do in the future if you put out the same frequency and manifest what you want to do. If you do that and you take the actions that are required to go get it, you will always get what you want. And I think that is the most powerful thing. We tell our kids that you can be anything you want in the world. And sometimes I wish that we didn't actually educate them beyond that, because everything that comes after we tell them that is meant to tell them that that's not true, when in reality, the best advice that we give kids is the first advice we ever get them. And it is that you can do anything that you want. And so I would really recommend for people to, read that book. I think it's a really, really powerful book. And what it did for me was realize that while there is a million walls, that they aren't really walls at all. You are the controller of your own destiny. And I really, really do believe that with the right attitude and the right work ethic and the right motivation, that you can really do whatever you want. When I was in school and I was going to become an investment banker, that was a really good question, by the way, and I'll get to that in a second. The biggest thing that I remember thinking about was I was surrounded by all of these kids that were so smart. They were so smart, but they were so motivated because they felt like they needed to be motivated. You're surrounded by 100 other kids that are doing investment banking. We're all fighting for the same jobs, and at the end of the day, you wake up and you realize that you don't really like doing investment banking. And that was what I did. And then I realized that when I started Loom, the next day that I woke up, I was 10 times more motivated, because true motivation is only rooted in passion. And if you're passionate about what you're doing and you're motivated, then you'll never stop to achieve your goals. And if you already believe that you're going to achieve your goals and you're motivated and passionate, then you're always going to find the ways to go out and figure out how to get them.
Man, I liked you before, but I like you even more now. After that was amazing. I always recommend people read mindset books first for anything.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing else matters. If your mindset's messed up, there's no point of starting a business. And you got to fix the motivation before you fix anything, because if you're not motivated, you're not going to get through the ups and the downs, right? With there being so many, there's so many things that you go through as an entrepreneur, from being lonely to, just like, not having, money to whatever, right? So you have to do something you're extremely passionate about. I mean, the passion is flowing through you. I can feel it, right? Your energy about what your platform is, and that's an amazing sign that you're 100% doing exactly what you should be doing. And you're going to get through any downturns that you might face, because you can get through it because you're so motivated to like get, to solve the problem with these musicians and everything that you're doing. So absolutely love it, man. We got some great questions flowing through. The book that he was talking about was The Secret. I love also all the Napoleon Hill stuff. The Law of Success, fantastic, right? It's actually even better than Think and Grow Rich, and that's like the really popular one. Law of Success is really, really good for this kind of stuff as well. We have a question here too. Who is your favorite mentor? So you mentioned a lot. I don't know if it's anyone in, mentors can be classified as a lot of different ways, but who is there a specific person that stands out with all the people, advisors, mentors that you've had along the way?
Yeah, when I first read that question, I thought it meant like role model or person like outside of like my personal network. And I'm a big like Elon Musk guy, not, I guess, super surprising. But in terms of my own mentorship, first I have to give a ton of credit to, I think my mom. She was really, I think, the person that made me realize everything. For example, going back to the book, right, The Law of Attraction. It's one of those things that you only realize it once you experience it. You can't tell somebody that they can go do whatever they want. People's usual response to that is, you can go F yourself or something like that. But my mom knew that when I was growing up, and she gave me every tool to realize that potential as early as I possibly could on my own. And so I really give her she is my mentor throughout life. In terms of my other mentors that we work with, I would say one of my biggest mentors, and I would bet that this is probably not something that people normally say, is actually my legal counsel. And so my legal counsel was a family friend originally, and ended up teaching me so much about not just business, but we live in a world where people only support you once you've made it. We live in a world where everybody is there to congratulate you, but very few people are here to say, I'm going to support you because we know you're going to make it. Because it's a shit ton more fun to be able to say, I told you that this person was going to make it, than be able to say, congratulations, now you're here. And so finding somebody early on like that supported me without asking for anything, I think taught me almost everything that I ever will need to know about life and in business. And that is, you always leave more on the table than you take. And so that was really, really helpful.
I love that. We have a lot of questions. There's a few people here from Loom too, which is really cool. Lorraine's asking if this is a good platform for underground rappers to get exposure. Yes, it's basically the best app that there is for to get exposure. I mean, the cool part about Loom is you can also network your way to getting traction too, right? And that's one of the cool things that I saw, that like the difference between like SoundCloud and like you can put your music anywhere, but who's gonna listen to it and how are you gonna get discovered? That's where I see Loom solving this huge problem with all these early stage artists and musicians. So 100%, this is like, this is the great platform for that. It looks like we have another person here from someone, I think they met you at an event or something too, which is hilarious. And then they are also asking about, so if they are on Loom, maybe what's a great way for them to, are there any strategies that people should use to expanding their reach, maybe on Loom, or I'm sure you've kind of learned a lot about just what makes musicians successful. So if people are watching and they're in the music space, what are some strategies that they could use?
Nothing comes for free in life, and Loom is no different, right? Loom is, as much as we are, we brand that we're a social media music streaming platform, what we really are is a tool for emerging artists, right? When an artist gets supported, they come into the app, somebody just supported them. There's only one button on the entire screen, and it says, say thank you, right? And so to be successful on Loom, you get on, you claim your welcome bonus because we give you your first dollar that you may have ever made off of music for free. You upload your first song. You should invite your friends and your people that are already supporting you onto the app, because the key to success is using your communities as a catalyst for your own growth, to expand your circle. And then you go out and you meet genuine people who are just like you, right? Most people don't realize this, but Loom is already one of the largest user uploaded music streaming services in the US. We have almost 250,000 tracks that have been uploaded in the last year on the platform. But almost 10% of those tracks are collaborations between artists that have met each other on Loom, created music, and then shared it so that they can increase and reach into each other's fan bases. So you get on, upload your music, bring on your friends, and then engage with the community, find music you love, find artists you want to work with, and honestly, have fun, right? It is networking. As much as I don't like that word from a social media perspective, it genuinely is one of the things that artists have enjoyed the most about the platform.
100%. We have someone who's absolutely loving this. Looks like they're going to upload some music to Loom. I totally agree with you. I'm not a huge fan of the word network necessarily, but like the connection aspect of a platform and being able to get support as an artist, musician, entrepreneur, it's so important along the way and getting through some things. As we wrap up here, because I know we're getting close to 7, I want to be respectful of your time too. We have a question, probably our last question here, unless there's another one that comes in. What are your is there anything currently that you need help with? Other opportunities, open to collaborations that maybe people might be able to, like, are you hiring? Are you looking for artists? Are you looking for fans? How can people get involved or help out, or any asks from the community?
We have a lot more users than we did, a year ago. And I remember a year ago, our philosophy was we want to talk to every single person that we can. And a year later, we have, infinitely more users than we did then, but our philosophy really has not changed. We love working with people in different cities. Sometimes people will come on and they'll say, hey, my city has enough music that I would love to do a playlist. And we'll let them curate a playlist from their city and we'll showcase it. We work with artists on if they want to do shows and they have a game plan, and we'll, figure out ways to promote it and support them. We have a ton of ambassadors. We want to be as close with our community as we possibly can. And many of our artists have went from an artist on Loom to somebody that helps run our social media, so I think we're always really open. And we do have an artist relations director. His name is Andre, and he is basically on the phone with artists every single day. So Andre Krumholz is his name, Krumholz. And he is on Loom. And, if you're an artist, you should take the time to reach out to him. And then on top of that, we are actually hiring. We're hiring as many people as we can possibly hire right now. A lot of different positions are going to continue to come up. But right now we are heavily focusing, again, going back to the product priority aspect, on our product. And so we're actually hiring web developers right now. We're hiring Android developers right now. We're hiring iOS developers right now. So if you are interested in that, you can email me that straight to my email. So definitely feel free to reach out to me, and then, maybe Michael can pass along contact information if anybody's interested after this. And we can figure out the best way to do that. But we also have an inquiries page on loom.fm for our careers page. And there's an email there as well that you can email if you're interested.
Fantastic. I am, I love it. And I would encourage anyone to reach out and check it out. We have a quick question here too. It looks like Daniel's a producer composer. He's asking if he's a good fit for Loom. I'm sure you guys have a wide variety of different types of artists and stuff. Is he someone, composers, producers, anyone like that is a good fit for Loom, right?
Everybody's a good fit for Loom. Everybody's a good fit for Loom. I mean, like I said, Loom is amazing because we get to build a phenomenal community of people that are here to support each other. Loom is also an amazing community because we build individual communities around each of our artists, right? And so Loom is not just about making money. Loom isn't about just, growing your career, growing your fan base. Loom is about having fun, right? And so Loom is really a place for anybody that does, especially as an artist, want to connect and form relationships with other artists, collaborate, and make music with other artists, of which there are infinite that want to collaborate and connect with you, grow your fan base, and make money on the platform. And our application is built so that everybody, so that we can support artists at every single stage of their career, whether you're 46 or whether you're 16.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. Do you want me to drop? I can put your email.
Yeah, absolutely.
Reach out, because there's some people asking about hiring remotely. Are you guys looking remotely too?
Yeah, so especially on the software development side, we're currently not hiring for any other positions outside of those 3 for Android, iOS, and web. But actually keep an eye out on that careers page. We will be probably hiring a significant amount of different positions over the course of probably the next 6 to 8 months. So we'll keep everybody updated there.
Okay, amazing. Well, Max, we're right at 7. This was awesome, man. I enjoyed this. I mean, I'm a huge fan of what you're doing.
Congrats again on the app. Get on it.
I mean, I have 126 followers, so I'm getting up there.
That's pretty good.
It's just at Michael Mara. So hit me up on there. I've sent 13 gifts. So I'm gifting. If someone's an artist, hit me up. I'll gift you some. I'll gift you a present or something. And yeah, I mean, I'm a huge believer in it. And I think, the other thing too is like, it's just, it's all about supporting other people who are like creating.
That's all.
And, yeah, I'm all about that. So anything that we can do for you guys, I'd love to even figure out a way to do some collaboration, do some like music events. We did an entertainment event last year, so maybe we can get into doing something like that. And then when we get back to in-person events, who knows? Like we want to do some like other, we could do some concerts and stuff together, collaborations. There's a lot, and then hopefully next time we do something like this, we both have millions of users, and it's gonna be a whole different ball game. So I'm looking forward to the future, man. And any final pieces? Where can people find you? I mean, obviously, I'm sure they should follow you and connect on the Loom app. Any other final pieces of advice or thoughts to wrap up?
Yeah, you know what? A lot of big announcements over the course of the next few weeks for us. So we're actually going to be dropping a national press release. I believe the day is August 7th. That's not just going to detail the launch of our Android and web application, but a lot of other really, really exciting things that nobody knows about yet. So keep an eye out. The next 2 weeks are going to we're going to have a lot of fun. So stay tuned. Loom.fm is the website. But, join us on Loom, where the party really is at.
I love it. All right. Thanks, Max. Take care, man. Appreciate you for all the work that you're doing in the music community and the entrepreneur community, honestly, too. So take care. We can chat on the Loom app, and I'll follow up with you there. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Another fantastic episode. This is going to be up on YouTube and elsewhere. If you want to learn more about some of our upcoming events, we have a future of restaurants event tomorrow. We have a legal workshop on Thursday. So getting connected with lawyers, huge part of building relationships. I know you mentioned you're really close with your lawyer. It's really important. Lawyers have actually a lot of connections too. So that will be exciting. And then we're set for a big August. So thanks everyone for tuning in. And you can create an account, sign up, join entre.com, sign up for Loom, loom.fm.
Yeah, thanks for everybody joining in. Absolutely.
Yeah,
no fun without everybody else. So thank you so much for tuning in and taking the time out of your day.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys. Until next time, thanks so much.
Bye.